6:30, August 6th, planning board meeting. We're doing it virtually via Zoom. And you got to raise your hand, right, to be acknowledged. And Maren, who sees the hands? You or?
Brian and I will watch for them.
If somebody wants to speak.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to mute you until we acknowledge you. And what else you want to know? A video or calls will be muted upon joining the meeting. Please use the raise your hand feature on your Zoom meeting to ask to speak. Participants, attendees are reminded that by joining this meeting that you consent to your likeness and audio being used and rebroadcasted by Littleton Cable TV. This live meeting can be viewed online at Littleton Cable TV on demand at www.littleton.cactus.tv/bod. Okay. Do I get paid for that?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, so we have 6:30. We're going to start with board business. We're still waiting on Jerry. Does anyone know if can we find out if Jerry's joining us, Maren?
I will check. Thank you.
Put on the grill. Yeah, put on the grill. I release most of the pressure out of it. You're not really on the boat, are you, Paul? I don't think so. Anyway, Maren, any word?
For some reason that comes up when I turn off the video.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
I'll let you know when I hear back.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll start. We'll do a board member update. So I'll start with an update. I met with Dave Guthrie, excuse me, to talk about the disposition of the farmhouse and the 5 acres down at Durkee Farms. And he's agreed to meet with the Affordable Housing Trust, not this meeting that we're having this Monday or Tuesday, but sometime in September to talk about giving the house to the Affordable Trust if the Affordable Trust does want it, maybe sometime early in the spring. And he's agreed to put the septic system in. And be happy to talk to the trust and see what they want to do and work with the trust to finally give it to the town so we can do some sort of affordable housing there. So it was all set with that, and we'll get them in September and then work on something for the spring. That's my only update, and I'll let you know what's going on with the Affordable Trust after our meeting on August 11th. Anyone else? Nope.
Sure. So working with folks in town administration on a couple of Maren's objectives still on the performance review. So we should be able to bring those to this planning board for final approval in September. Trying to find out when the next MPIC meeting is. And so, yeah, that's my update.
Okay. Bills and payroll, Maren, were did you send that to me to be signed? And I just haven't clicked on it yet to take care of it, but yep. I will when we're done. I saw it.
Yep.
No.
Right, and then I finally got caught up on all of the peer review bills and put in the reimbursement request for the grant funds, the EEA Planning Assistance Grant funds that we've spent to date. So we paid MAPC and UTO, and now we're in the process of getting reimbursed for that reimbursement.
Okay. Town meeting. What's the date of town meeting?
Yeah, Saturday, October 17.
Okay. We don't have anything.
October, yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing for us, but we should be working towards Springtown meeting. Right?
Actually, I would recommend that we get a 5G bylaw.
Okay. With Jerry, I'll circle back with Jerry and with the light and water department. See where they are, because we were going to mimic what they were doing with theirs for what will be under our jurisdiction, which will be probably very little, but at least we'll have something.
Yep, I had a good conversation with Town Council, Chris Heap, and they've done this for a couple towns already. So as soon as they're a little more familiar with what Light and Water Department has done for the aesthetic standards and the Light and Water's regulations, they'll be able to drop something in short order for us to. So I would, with your permission, I'd schedule the public hearing for probably the early October meeting.
Okay. We'll just get what they have and circle back with Chris and have something for October.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So for some of the road acceptances, is there anything that we'll need to be discussing in advance to then get to select board, or is there anything else on any other topic that we would have to do for fall town meeting, just so we don't miss any deadlines?
Mm-hmm. As soon as we have a schedule from the Selectman's office of Select Board office on when they'd be able to hold the public hearings on those, Planning Board would be providing input to that hearing. But as at the moment, all the developers are moving ahead with getting everything tied up in a bow, so we can.
Mm-hmm. And how do we provide that?
The board can provide a positive recommendation.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. How do we provide that input? Do we have to have a meeting? Do we provide it through a letter? What's typical for how we provide it? Or do we attend their meeting?
Normally, we schedule a meeting. They bring in the as-built, the final sign-offs from all the boards that need to sign off on it, like the water department, fire department, their final bond release, make sure there's still enough money in case there's an issue there. And we just make sure all the work's done or pretty close to being done. And then we recommend or we don't recommend to the selectmen to put it on the warrant for acceptance as a town way.
Okay, thank you.
We'll get input from the highway department, from the, like I said, fire, water, everybody. We'll sign off on it and then we'll vote on it. That's how it's usually done. So, pretty straightforward.
Good to know, thanks.
And there are always one or two very last minute issues that sometimes get resolved the day of town meeting. But as long as the process is moving forward,
you know how much I'm going to enjoy that.
Absolutely, but it's construction.
Yeah.
Well, we'll just work with them to try to get it in advance.
Absolutely.
Anything else? Okay, we got Jerry here. Jerry, do you have any board member updates before we get into the issues we have at 6:30?
I don't have any updates. I know I was supposed to get with Maren this week to talk about comment period for TDR. So I don't know if we want to talk about it now.
We've scheduled separate. Are we going to schedule a separate meeting for TDR?
Yeah, not the meeting itself, just the process for comments.
Okay.
My recommendation was going to be is you've already posted it, right? I would just send a message out that we're opening a comment period to all the boards and put a clock on it. Just do like a 30 or 45 day comment period where we'll take the input and adjust accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
And then after we go through the comment period, like we could draft a response to comments and post it saying, hey, the planning board has heard the following comments and, has recommended the following changes or adjustments, or we're going to do nothing. It's up to us. And then once you post that, then we would just basically post a final draft that we're going to go to whichever meeting with.
And you hadn't quite gotten on the board on the Zoom meeting, but we need to have a meeting about the 5G. Chris and water department, light department are going to kind of work on something that we can bring to town meeting for fall town meeting, because we're going to need something. They're coming, so we need to have a bylaw for the unit, the stuff that's going to be on for our jurisdiction. So
yeah, my understanding is the industry wants to accelerate 5G at all cost right now, especially with the COVID outbreak. They want to be able to, increase their bandwidth quickly. Like I think they're really targeting like 2021. So I'm assuming we should be able to make the meeting. Do we need to make the meeting for this?
Oh no, we're scheduling a public hearing sometime in October for town meeting.
For 5G?
For 5G, yeah.
But it should be an administrative vote, right? I mean, there's nothing controversial here.
No, but we're gonna have to put some sort of bylaw together that people in town can vote on.
Yeah, no, I understand. I'm just saying there's no issues that
No,
are at play for the town. It's just a matter of satisfying SEC requirements.
the only thing that's gonna really overlap to us are the stuff that's not gonna be on the light and water department polls. The private stuff, like if they wanna do something in the Point, if they wanna do something up at Donnellan's and stuff that we'll have some sort of jurisdiction over.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, so let's move on with what we have for 6:30 business. We have a request from one of the adult marijuana establishments that wants to see if they can start the process before they've been approved by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the Cannabis Control Commission. Christine wants to see about starting the process before the planning board. And I told her that I would put it to the board to decide whether they wanted to do that or wanted to wait until she's actually been approved by the state. So I'm opening up for discussion, see what the board wants to do. This is for a retail marijuana establishment
In which location is this?
This is the location down
Air Road.
Air Road.
Oh, on Air Road.
Yeah.
And is that going to be in the same place as this testing facility?
And same, I believe it's going to be in the same building. I'm not 100% sure, but I
Same
believe.
building, same location, same owner, right?
I don't think so. I think it's entirely different owner. It's different application.
Same building owner, but
Same building owner, but different.
Same building owner. I mean, I don't understand what's the advantage to us if we hear it before the state?
Nothing. It's just that if something happens along the way and the proponent gets knocked out, we've already started and.
Well, what's the advantage to the applicant to go before the state?
I guess to kind of get a jump on it, to get going. I'm sure it's going to take a while to actually get through the process. So I believe Christine, I don't want to speak for her, but I believe Christine wants to try to get started into the process sooner rather than later.
But
So,
why? I don't
Christine-
understand. What do we get?
well, Christine she's a disadvantaged business. So the state has the state gives her priority in its review. And so one of the ways we can think about it is that we should give her, different status in the review. And I think if the state's doing it, we should do it also.
But does it change the clock, Jeff? That's all I'm asking. Like, does
It changed the clock.
accelerate?
I think it changes the clock for her. I don't know what that means in actual time, but I guess the Cannabis Control Commission is backed up.
My
sense of it is that this is a retail marijuana establishment. It's not like the lab. It's not like the grow facilities. And so from that perspective, I think that we'll probably be hearing from residents, and we'll be needing to make sure that we've dotted every I and crossed every T. And so to me, being able to follow the process in this particular instance for any retail marijuana establishments, we should follow it to a T. So that's my perspective, and I'd rather not change it.
But what does that mean, though, following it to a T?
Well, I believe the ruling is that we can't open the hearings until she's actually been approved by the Cannabis Control Commission.
Okay.
So she's asking to start the process while she's still in the middle of the process. And I told her that I would ask the board, poll the board to see what their thoughts are on it. It's a little different. We are letting the laboratory in before. We are doing that, but they're not a retail establishment. They're a testing facility. And we did set precedent by that. And so I felt, Christine asked me, and I felt it was fair to poll the board to see what they thought about the retail aspect of it, which is a little more controversial than the lab.
Well, actually, precedent had been set for the grow facility sanctuary. So as a non-retail establishment, that was the reason for going ahead.
That is true. We did go through everything. And they
Right, because if that had not been said, I would have said no for that one too, for the G7. So.
I also have to disclose that I think I'm going to have to recuse myself on the King Street retail establishment because though I'm not a direct abutter, I am within 300 feet. So I also probably need to get a determination whether I can weigh in on this. I mean, I don't have any financial interest in this, but to the degree that I probably don't want, I don't know. I'm going to have to sort this out. I don't think there's a problem, but it's possible that my having an opinion about this constitutes, I don't see how it would, but
I think it depends on how you want to play that. I think the onus, if you were to state that you didn't have a conflict of interest, a direct conflict, and you felt comfortable with your own,
I certainly don't have a
it would
direct
be up to me to challenge you,
Yeah.
and I'd have to appeal to the state.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the risk is to you other than voiding a decision and having to start over. Like,
Yeah, I'm just bringing this up now because when I was thinking about this particular conversation, I thought, I have to get this sorted out. It's straightforward with the King Street location. This location I have nothing to do with. So,
Well, the issue is whether we want her to actually file an application, start the procedure, or do we want to wait until she's through the Cannabis Control Commission before?
Wait, can we just stay on Jeff for a second? If
Okay.
he recuses himself, he's down to 3 voters.
Right.
I don't think I need to recuse myself.
Don't
on
you need
this.
4?
Well,
Do you need
we'd have to get a determination from town council whether we could hear it as 3. What do they call that, Myron? The super
Rule of necessity.
rule in the
Yeah,
session.
okay. So we can work around it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So Christine has her hand raised.
Okay. You want to weigh in? Tell us where you're at with the Cannabis Control Commission, and we'll give you a couple of minutes. We got to move on, but we'll give you a couple of minutes.
I'm super efficient. Thank you very much. This is my completed application to the Cannabis Control Commission. It is 284 pages long. Once the Cannabis Control Commission rules my application complete, I have a very excellent chance of receiving my provisional license. So the Cannabis Control Commission has only denied 4 applications once they've been deemed complete. I'm not asking there's nothing in the town bylaw or the state law that says I need to have a provisional license before opening the process for a special permit. There was a visual representation made on a slide provided by KP Law Group that said provisional license before special permit, but there's nothing in the statute or the town bylaws that makes that a requirement. I'm not asking to get the jump on the process or to thwart any part of it. I'm asking to have you follow the law as it regards special permit applications, which is when you receive my special permit application, please move through the process, the legal process to open the hearing. I will, I'm not going to waste your time. I'm telling you that right now. And as a small business owner, I'm into the tens and tens of thousands of dollars sort of plowing through the town process, and it's not been following the letter of the law, and so and my landlord, another woman business owner in Littleton, she's into this for way, way more than I am. I mean, I'm not asking for any special treatment. I'm asking you to read the bylaw, please, and just please don't vote to delay my special permit hearing from opening. Certainly, if I don't meet the criteria, which I would be frankly shocked, you don't have to give me a special permit. And certainly, you can hang on to the special permit and certificate of occupancy until I do have that provisional license. But I'm just asking you not to delay. I mean, you guys only meet once a month. Every month, it's like $8,000. I need to get moving on this, or you're going to run me out of business. So let me apply, please.
Just to set expectations, though, I mean, how long do you think this process is going to take, even if we started now?
So I'm not going to be ready to start. My goal is to have my application to you by the end of the month so that you would be having the informal conversation with me in September and then not opening the hearing until October. Applications, you can speculate all you want. My attorney had an application deemed complete in 3 days from a qualified disadvantaged applicant like me. But there are a lot of inspections and background checks and stuff that have to happen before the provisional license is granted. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to pass every single one of them. The state, it could be 4 months, it could be 6 months, it could be 2 months, 2 weeks. It's anyone's guess, But I'll tell you, my application is rock solid and there's no way I'm going to be denied my provisional license. I just want you guys to let me move through this process, which is already 120 days at minimum, So, yeah, that's all I'm asking.
Maren, have we gotten any input from Chris whether we actually can start it without state approval, or do we know whether or not we can or not from council?
Mark, before we finish this discussion, we should open the Hager Homestead hearing.
Oh,
Is that
open
time?
and continue? Okay. All right, we have a 6:45 continued public hearing, 336, 338 King Street, Senior Residential Development and Aquifer Water Resource District, special permit, Hager Homestead. They've asked to continue till September.
Yes.
Do you want to give them a time right now so that we can at least have it on record?
Yeah, we should. If we could just confirm with all the board members that September 3rd is a good date.
Does anybody have an issue with September 3rd?
Not yet.
What?
Not yet.
Nope, I'm good, I think. I don't think I'm flying anyway. Anna, are you okay?
Depends. I have to take a kid to college, so I will be driving back on that day. Is that a Thursday? Yeah, that's a Thursday.
From where?
Philadelphia.
Oh, I wouldn't even. Why put yourself under that stress?
You want to do the following week?
The following week would be September 10th.
Is that better for you, Anna?
Yeah, I mean that's great because I'm that would be awesome because otherwise I'll be in a car and the connection might work or it might not.
Will that work? Will you be late on that one too, Jerry?
Huh?
Will you be late for that meeting too on the 10th?
If conditions in the state of where they are right now, yeah.
Okay. That was a joke.
Listen to Mr. Chairman.
How about you, Jeff? Are you good for the 10th?
I'm okay. I was just checking something. The 10th would be fine.
I'm trying to be more efficient. I'm the kind of gentler chair, I want Anna to yell at me.
So my recommendation would be to continue till Thursday, September 10 at 6:45 p.m.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jim Valeriani has a question. Is it about the Hager Homestead?
Oh, yes, thank you. Forgive me. No, it was not. I was here with the Mensing Group. We are representing G7, but as well as Christine's company. And should I wait to weigh in just for 30 seconds on that while you finish up with Homestead? Your vote. Forgive me for raising my hand.
Oh, premature hand raise.
Hand raise.
Yeah, all right. So we're good. 6:45 on September 10th. Everyone's good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So back to Christine.
Motion and vote.
I make a motion that we continue the public hearing for the senior residential at 336 and 338 King Street till September 10th.
A second.
Second, all those in favor signify. Anna?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Jeff? Nod your head. All right, Jeff says yes, and yes, we're good.
Thank you.
Okay, then now we're back to Christine, couple minutes, and then we're running out of time, but we're gonna be wicked late today.
Very, very quickly, Mr. Chairman. Yes, there's nothing that prevents you from proceeding with the local permitting. In fact, the CCC likes to see that get underway. It can be a long process with retail facilities. Many cities and towns proceed in advance. There's nothing under the regulations or the state statute that prevent that. And in fact, the CCC would like to see the results of your hearing process. And of course, the applicant would still need to go through the very detailed and strict security review requirements by the police, the review requirements of this board. I will say, if I may, with Board Member Yates, there is no reason to recuse given his, even though he may be on the abutter list or within the distances. I believe Christine's landlord is different than the landlord for G7. There are two landlords it is the same landlord? Okay, well, in any event, so there would be a recusal there, and we'd need all 4 votes. So she wants to do this right, make sure everything is comprehensive and complete. And I would say you can move ahead. You should move ahead. And the CCC is very, very strict with retail operations and making sure that all local approval security plans are met. So please, I would please ask you to allow her to proceed with her application and submit this month for your next hearing.
Thank you. So what does the board want to do? Do you want to let Chris weigh in, and then if he says it's not an issue, let her come in September, informally?
Yeah, I think that's a good plan. Validate it with Chris, and then if there's no objection on our end, then just move forward with the application like any other application.
Yes.
Jeff, are you all right with that? I think that was a yes.
Can you?
Not hear me?
Can't hear you. You're muted. There he goes.
Nope.
Log out and log back in.
No, we still can't hear you. All right. And I know I have a bit of concern like you, but I think we should let Chris weigh in. If he's okay with it, then the issue is, and I think I share it with Anna, is if Christine starts, then the common one is going to start as well. And what we do for one, we have to do for them all. So we're going to open it up earlier than we thought we were going to. And it is what it is.
Yep, I voiced my objection, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Am I still muted?
No,
No, now you're good.
we can hear you.
My position is that I don't agree with that. I think that we can, because of the disadvantaged business owner status, I think we can treat the applications differently.
I don't know. I'm a little gun shy. I mean, there's a board member who's not here who owns those units. So I think we need to be a little careful on our due diligence and just have our counsel weigh in.
Absolutely.
If it's okay or not. And that way it's totally independent and there's no.
No, I totally agree with you, but I'm saying if we're worried about, this rush for applications.
I mean, he's backed by huge money and I'm not. It's not, it's a different story, and it's not fair to delay my application because you don't like the other application.
I don't think that's it at all. I think they both equally. I think if we're going to let you apply early, we're going to have to let them apply early. And I think that's mine and Anna's concern, that we're jumping the process before we know where we're at with everything. That's why we need town council to weigh in and make sure that we're okay with starting this before the Cannabis Control has approved either one of them, because we're going to end up with both of them. That's my feeling on it.
Mr. Montanari, is there a specific provision in your local bylaw that says you cannot apply for local permits until a provisional license is issued? Because if not, there's no basis to not allow her or any other applicant to proceed. If you want to see town council's input over the next week so she can still move ahead, that's fine to be on the safe side. The other board member who's not present would have to recuse anyway, so her input this evening wouldn't be relevant. So you can proceed.
My understanding was that we couldn't open a hearing until the Cannabis Control Commission had an applicant that was approved.
That's not correct.
Wrong on that. I just want to make sure.
Okay.
But Mark, there's no need for a back and forth here.
If I may,
we're going to go validate it with our counsel, and we'll we'll get back to you. I mean, what's the problem?
Right. And I will say that having been on the marijuana working group, we were very clear in the process that the provisional license needed to be available to the applicant before the planning board came. So we talked through that, we repeated it, it was on paper. And so that is the process that we set forth. So that's it. I think we're
Very
done.
good.
We need to keep moving.
Okay,
on.
let's just let,
Is that in the bylaw?
Right,
Is that
let's-
written in the bylaw?
that they have to be, yeah. So let's let town council take a look at
That's
it.
what I'm saying. Just let Chris weigh in. And by the way, I'm not discounting your concerns at all. I mean, and even if we do start hearing this thing now, it doesn't mean it's going to get done in 6 months.
Right, okay. All right, well, we've spent enough time.
It doesn't. I'm just saying, like, I don't think there's any advantage or disadvantage to us at all. We're still going to go through a deliberative process. We're not going to fast track of our
Okay.
first marijuana retail application. That's not going to happen.
All right, let's get input from Chris and we'll revisit this. We'll get an answer and we'll get back to you, Christine. How's that? Okay,
Very good. Thank you.
thank you all. All right, next we have Paul Alphin on his boat in somewhere. The question that came up and it was about when we did the form-based coding bylaw for the common area. Originally, the residential piece of Acton Toyota was included in the original map to be part of the form-based coding. It was taken out at the very, very last moment to not be, even though it is part of the Acton Toyota property. It's been that way even before it was Acton Toyota. And Mr. Alphin wants to talk to us about the possibility of getting that rezoned to allow Acton Toyota to put some cars back there, maybe do some, I don't want to speak for them, but put some retail up front or something, or just to give more flexibility. And I'll let you give us an idea of what you're thinking, Mr. Alphin.
Thank you. I was trying to share my screen. I have the zoning map, and now I can't find the link to share my screen. Here we go. I got it. All right. So here's where the end of the zoning district line lies today. And it doesn't go all the way to the property line for one reason or another. I'm not clear on that. But more importantly, there's a piece of property out here, there's sort of triangular portion that's zoned residential that doesn't have any frontage by itself. The only way to access it is through the Acton Toyota property. So if for consistency, for no other reason than consistency, it would seem that zoning district line ought to be extended to a minimum to the side lot line and then logically around the entire property, or else the residentially zoned property can't be used for anything because it has lack of frontage. It's sort of held hostage there by an abutting property owner could make an offer to buy it and be the only person that could use it, the only person that could get access to it. But our client doesn't have any ability to use the piece of property.
Yep.
It's the tail section of the airplane that I call it, right there.
There you go.
Yep.
Okay. So originally, when we had drawn up the map, that was included in the form-based coding map, and it got changed at the last minute to only include the commercial, the business zone properties, so it got dropped off. So the understanding is that you would like to bring it before town meeting to see if they will vote to put it on the area, add it to the form-based coding area, correct?
That is correct.
So are we asking
Okay,
for
but
it to be rezoned then to be included in here?
Yep.
And so that means that it could continue to be residential. It could also be commercial. I
It would
mean,
have to
it could be either, right? That's what we're saying.
It would be, the uses which allowed would be those uses which are allowed in the Village Common District is what I'm anticipating. Now, keep in mind that automobile sales, or repair, or any of that stuff is not permitted in the Village Common District anyway. But by putting that in the Village Common District, at least it would make the parcel usable to somebody in the future. Or, you know, I don't think it's a secret to say that, or the applicant could go to the zoning board and seek a variance to allow the property to be used as part of the dealership. But in order to do that, the ZBA by supermajority would have to approve it, and I would expect that even if they did, that approve it with the pages of conditions.
I have
So-
to weigh in here, having sat on this.
Jeff, could you speak up?
Hear you, Jeff.
I'm sorry that you're not hearing me. This is something that will not happen at the ZBA. It's something that in the past, when it's been attempted, has resulted in a huge outcry. And if you want to use the property for commercial use, you have to get it rezoned. I don't have an opinion yet about including it in the overlay district, but as an end run around zoning, I do not support it.
Why would this be an end run?
You just said that by including it in the form-based zoning overlay, you would then go and attempt to get a use variance for a residentially zoned property.
Remember, we can do that today.
You can, and you will not be successful.
Sure. So
that's what I'm saying. I'm separating. I'm just giving you my point of view. I don't necessarily have an opinion yet about whether to include that in the form-based code zoning district. I mean, I think that could be advantageous, whether, you know, if as a residential, you know, use. But to improve your position to go outside the zoning for a non-specified use, I don't like that.
Wait a second. The map of the common area, everything in that map is commercial.
Yes.
Right. So this would just be making that piece of commercial. So it's not, I don't see it as
Not making it, no, it's not making it commercial.
yeah, it is. It has,
That's a zoning change.
and that's exactly what he's going to have to ask for.
So if that's the issue, that's fine. Go before the town meeting and attempt to get it rezoned. But
That's what he's going to have to do. Put it into this district, which
I
means
agree.
it has to be rezoned.
But the way it's been presented is that by including it in the overlay district, somehow that implies that it's now commercial, and it's not.
It has to be both. It has to be
Yes, I agree.
district and it has to be rezoned commercial because everything on that map right there is all commercial, even though
Right.
some of it's residential.
Yes.
Right, mixed
Just
use.
to illustrate that point, what you're saying then is if he form-based code would mean that he'd have to put like residential units over his parking if he wanted to use it as a parking facility.
right, in order to be able to use that,
Within the confines of form-based code. So you couldn't even cover that lot. I mean, I'm not sure what, I think if you want something from the town, I'm not really sure what are we getting in return? Why would we put that in there? I mean, we just went through and approved this, and that was specifically drawn out. Why was it drawn out?
Yeah, I was kind of wondering that myself. Why did your client not come forward earlier in the process?
I can't tell you why he didn't come forward earlier, but you can tell us why it was in and then out, because we don't know the answer to that question.
You know what? I don't either. I have no
I
idea.
think it's because it was drawn along the lines of the commercial boundary, and which
Correct.
makes some sense. And that makes sense.
Yeah, we just redrew it around what currently existed in the commercial district.
And the argument about not being able to use it as residential use, I think you could get a variance for frontage to use it for residential use.
A frontage variance is probably more difficult than the use variance because
I totally
purpose of frontage,
disagree with you based
purpose
on my
of-
experience.
the frontage variances are so tough because there are minimum requirements for purposes of access in the event of a fire or other emergency. So I don't think we could use it for residential purposes. Would have to, again, the only thing we could do is sell it to an abutting property owner.
But your client has come in front of us a number of times now on that piece over the years. And at one point you were talking about swapping out the parking in the abutting lot, the little square next to the airplane tail, and moving that parking out back and giving us something not parking up front. I mean, what's the plan here? Like, what's your goal? What are you trying to achieve?
Well, the goal is, and it's maybe too premature to talk about the overall goal. The goal would be to continue to try to work with the abutting property owner, as we have done over the many years, to try to find some land back here for purposes of some mix of affordable housing or elderly housing or mix of housing, but to also be able to use this for something other than residential use, because it's not usable for that purpose at this time.
I don't know. It sounds like spot zoning. Like,
How's it be spot zoning
involved? I mean, that would be a good argument to come back and say, hey, we have a plan. This is what we want to do with these lots. In order to make this work, we need to rezone this, and then we can move forward. I think that's probably a good argument. But it sounds like you just want to put a lot in that was clearly zoned separately when they drew the line. I mean, Anna gave the explanation, so you got your reason. It sounds like a lucid reason. I don't know any compelling reason to put it in. I mean, for that matter, what about the lot across the street? Why wouldn't we put it in? Same argument.
Well, because it follows the property line. It follows the line of ownership. And with this the way it is today, you can't use it for anything. But
he knew that when he bought it.
Sure.
At one point, it was promised to be a soccer field for the town of Littleton, and that disappeared many years.
There you go. So there's another scenario. I mean, what scenario are we on to right now with this? I mean, I'd rather see a plan that's real and not having these sort of like one-off conversations every couple of years on this lot. I mean, if we want to come up with a solution, I'm personally more than willing to work with your client on a solution. I just want it to be real and definitive.
I would say that based on what Jerry and Jeff just brought up, that if there have been plans in the past that have not been realized, then we probably don't want to be putting this in front of the town now. But I would agree that if there is a very well-baked plan that the town can agree to, then that's something that we can then take back to town meeting and say, these two go together. This was what's going to happen on that property if it gets rezoned and put into the form-based code district.
Yeah.
I hear you.
I agree with both of you about a concrete.
That's good. So I guess the bottom line is we want to see maybe what your client's idea is to go out there. We've had a million, as they said, when it was going to be the supermarket, there was going to be a soccer field out there because it was residential. You couldn't do anything with it. Or maybe you want to come in and give us an idea of what potentially could be done out there. Rather than
not to be a dead horse, but Jeff made a great point. I don't think we should ever rezone a piece of property if the appearance is that we're just improving the applicant's position, which I think was probably most important piece for me. I don't see any reason to do it other than to advantage the applicant. It doesn't advantage the town in any way, the way it stands. So yeah, a better plan, a good plan would be, I think, well received.
So thank you for your candor and your counsel.
Thank you, Paul.
All right, thanks.
Okay, thank you. So, what else do we have under board business? We have a little time on our hands now since we don't have the point until 7:45.
We have minutes.
Okay. Did you have a chance to look at the minutes? You have are they okay?
Most of them are about Healy Corner, which I can't weigh in on, but the parts that I participated in, I thought were fine. In fact, I enjoyed them because stuff went on that I don't even remember. So, that's good.
You were muted, that's why.
You're too funny, Jeff. Well, I had one quick question on the ones from June 18th. On page 3, let me see if I can find them on my computer here.
Cooper Farm Estates.
Yeah. So on page 3, under Cooper Farm Estates, item A, the third paragraph, where it says Houston asked, and then the last sentence says 2 lots will be turned over to the association. Can someone please refresh my memory about what that means? Because it said, Ms. Field replied, there will be 39 units, 16 over 55, 23 single family homes, and then 2 lots turned over to the association.
I think they don't have the septic capacity to build the homes originally approved there. And so they'll, I don't know what the association will do with them, but I don't think they're able to build on
Okay. So it's 2 unbuildable lots?
them. Yes.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. So that was my only question. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? I'll make a motion to approve them as amended or as written.
I second.
Okay, we have a second. Jeff? You
Yes.
there? Hannah?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Yes, I'm yes. Okay, great. The other ones, we have the, there were 2 of them, weren't there?
Yes. The 4th and the 18th.
There were 3 sets of minutes, June 4th, June 18, and July 9.
Ooh, I didn't see the July 9th.
Okay. Well, we can wait to vote on that one then.
Well, you read it. Are you good with it?
Well, I am, but Jeff hasn't, so he
No,
should have
don't-
that
Don't worry
opportunity.
about it. I'm sure it's fine. Anna, if you approve,
Yeah, that's kind of you're the gold standard, so yeah.
Anna can be the minute maker.
Sorry, Anna, I didn't put that on you. They did.
Okay, so, and the 4th is fine as well?
Yeah.
Yes.
Jerry, you good on those? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Well, go ahead, Jerry.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
For June 4th and July 9th.
July 9th.
Second? Okay.
Second.
Anna?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. This is fun. All right, what else we want to talk about?
Let's see, if you want to go over the town meeting timeline.
Okay, we have time.
Yeah, we have time. I will share that, I believe. Okay. Did that work for you guys? Are you seeing the town meeting timeline? No. Share now. There's one more button to push. Hang on. Share. Here it is. Sorry about that. One of the reasons Attorney Alphen recommended he come in early rather than later, rather than next month, was special town meeting warrant will close at noon on Thursday, September 9th. I'll let the select board office know to expect a 5G or to reserve a spot for a 5G zoning bylaw as the only zoning bylaw amendment for the fall. We have not had any citizen petition for zoning bylaw amendments. So that should be it for fall. And then the up to 5 roadway acceptances or subdivision roadway acceptances. Well, that'll keep us busy for September and October.
So timing is okay, even though that deadline showed September 10th at noon. We don't need to meet before that for anything that we've been discussing, like the G7, or as long as we put a placeholder, we're good.
For 5G, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm presuming that, well, we're going to have the recommendation from town council on the proposed wording, and that's what we'll bring to the public hearing.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. So we'll keep us, we'll make sure we have a spot for that.
Mhm.
Okay,
That's all I had.
that's it?
Yeah.
What else? Maren, when is the committee gonna start on the train station stuff? Is that later on in the month?
Yeah, my understanding that this select board will appoint probably 2 members at their meeting Monday night. And then after those appointments are made, then I can send around a poll for the schedule, setting the schedule. One of the first items will be for that committee to draft their own charge and talk about membership, whether or not a 4-member committee is appropriate or if it should be broadened.
Okay.
Do we have an over-under on the number of meetings for that committee? See, my recommendation would be like 4 meetings between fall and Springtown meeting.
In town meeting, we do have a bylaw there that we can take a look at and decide how we want to deal with it. What we want to put in, what we want to leave out. Maybe we do it, like as you suggested, we do it in phases. We start with the train station and work our way up across the street. We'll see. We'll see what happens once we get involved in it. Ultimately, it's going to come to this board because it is a zoning issue. So we'll start with the committee and then end up finishing it with us. So, anything else? Okay, I'm done stretching. I got nothing.
Well, the next agenda item is 7:45. We could take a break if you wish.
Does this board want to take a 10-minute break?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Can we do that?
Sure.
What do we do? Just walk away?
Go eat our dinner.
Yeah, there you go.
Can we take 10 minutes?
Yeah, we just need to mute and
we're in
mute
a
our
brief-
voice and video. Yeah,
Looks like we're already in a brief recess.
there we go.
There you go.
Guys, play nice at recess. Come on. All right, I'll see you in 10 minutes. Okay, I'm back. Anybody else? Nope, nobody else.
No, I'm here.
All right, can you hear me?
Yeah, we have until 7:45, yeah.
Okay. Now, we're-
7:45.
try to show you the ocean, but it didn't come up. It's too dark. Sky's smooth. Yeah. Yeah, I'll show you the ocean here. You want to see the ocean? Can you see the ocean?
Nice.
That's the Cape Cod. That's Mass Maritime. But I can't show it to you because I come out too dark if I sit that way. So. What the heck are all these people? What's the point? Oh. You don't look happy. Smile. Want a cigar? You're still muted.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, wanted it that. I did it.
All right, so we have 6 minutes, huh?
Oh.
So Anna, where are you?
I'm in Denver, visiting some very sick relatives.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, me too. A lot of them.
Really?
Yeah,
That's too bad.
2 on Rob's side and 2 on mine.
How long will you be there?
Probably another week.
No fun.
Nope.
I saw that thing you said, Danny. Yeah, you're right. So we'll just let Chris weigh in and we'll be fine.
Yeah.
So we were going to actually attempt to go to Maine, but that didn't turn out because we needed to come here instead. So
Oh, that's too bad.
we'll go to Maine next year.
Okay.
How long did it take you to drive out there?
3 days.
Did you go in a regular car or did you take like a little mini Winnebago or something?
Oh no, I couldn't convince my family to do that, but I wanted to.
Yeah, we were thinking of going to Utah and we were going to try to get a small little camper with a bathroom in it. That was it. So,
Yeah, exactly.
of course, you can try and find one now. It's like impossible.
Yeah, I hear that they're crazy expensive now because everyone's doing that.
Yeah, it would have cost almost the same amount. I think we would have saved, $1,000 or so if we had done it that way. Just because of all the hotel stays, but yeah.
Yeah.
So.
So who's going to school in Philadelphia?
So Catherine, she decided to switch schools.
And where is she going?
Haverford.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I went to college in Philadelphia, so.
Yeah. So, so far they're one of few schools that are actually planning to go back.
Yeah.
Oh, they're going to open in September?
Mhm.
Yeah, they're still arguing with that in Boston with BU and Northeastern, right? The people are up in arms because they're going to open.
Yep.
Yep. I don't know. It's a strange time we live in.
It is strange.
Be nice to keep this Zoom thing going for about 6 or 8 more months, huh?
No.
Technically, we could probably meet.
You just want to smoke cigars, Mark.
I know I can't do it if we go in 103. No, but I'm okay. I see the selectmen are meeting now. We could probably do that to a little extent if we really wanted to, but.
Right, see, it would have to be a hybrid, because only six
No
people.
public.
Right,
Yeah.
only 6 people can be in the meeting room.
Okay. That'd be us. To meet.
Well, it's sort of nice now in the summer when, people can travel and still come to the meetings, but, what about, Maren, could there be a hybrid, like if someone's out of town, could they join a in-person meeting on Zoom? Is that possible?
Well, now that we're doing it, it probably is. It never used to be.
Never used to be, yeah. You were
Correct.
there, you're not, yeah.
Right, yeah. State law was changed, so.
Oh, it was okay, it was a law thing, yeah. No.
$5 Jerry's late for the 10-minute break. How's everyone want to take that back?
It's already been more than 10 minutes anyway, so
He's still late.
no. He just uses his time super efficiently.
2 minutes and counting.
So we're back live from New York.
This is unusual to have extra time in a meeting.
Yeah. Well, Hager continued.
Why did they continue? Who knows? No.
Maybe to give us more information. I think the concern about them is the affordability, where they're at with the numbers.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to look at what they sent this afternoon either.
Oh, they did, because they
They
had
did send us some
sent a couple days ago just the sort of criteria for affordability. So do you have a big crowd, Mark?
I've got Karen's got her grandchildren down, so everybody's down there, and her daughter and boyfriend flew in from Park City, so
Oh, nice.
house down. It's nice, yeah. I've been actually working most of the week back and forth, so
Yeah.
I go on the beach every day. I went a couple of days, but I've still had to work, so
Great.
but it's been nice. The weather's been beautiful.
Yeah.
The tip of the hurricane yesterday. Although Littleton got it worse than we got it down here. I went back up to Littleton, the tree, branches down. We're up here. It's just windy. That's all.
I had plants, some really prized plants of mine were blown over, which bummed me, but they'll live, but can't enjoy them anymore. So
My niece has had a tree branch come down on her car in her yard driveway.
yeah.
Up, Jerry.
So- Oh, Jerry's here. Okay, let's go.
Maren, are we ready?
Yep.
Are we live again?
Yes, we are.
All right, so we have a 7:45 site modification for the Point Tesla charging station. I guess we have Tim who's going to walk us through this.
Yes and no. I have Tim. Also, we have on the line is Trevor Smith from Tesla, who's really driving the bus. So we're here just for the quick introduction. And if there's any other questions from the board, general to the point that they want to ask. But then I think Trevor's I think his goal is just to find out, what needs to be done, if he needs anything from the board officially, and whatnot from there. So myself and Stefan Katrubis are here for any other technical questions along the way. So I see Trevor's here, although I don't see his face, but I'm going to turn it over to him.
Yeah.
Give you an update.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. I live in a pretty small Boston apartment and don't really have an area that doesn't look like my bedroom, so I could turn it on. But in any event, nice to meet everyone, and thanks for taking the time. As Tim said, we're really just looking for high-level comments and to talk about what we're proposing here, which is to install 12 Tesla Supercharger stations at the Point in Littleton. The purpose of the stations are to facilitate long-distance electric vehicle travel. We have roughly 20 supercharger stations in the state of Massachusetts currently, and close to 1,000 in North America. The intent of these stations are to, put them near long distance kind of interstates, so people who are traveling away from their home have a place to quickly charge. Takes about 30 minutes is the average dwell time for these stations. So we like to, invest in areas for our owners that would provide a great customer experience. As you can imagine, on a family road trip, stopping off 495 and stopping off at the point for 30 minutes would be. You got plenty to do and plenty of amenities around to help kill some time and lessen the burden of owning an electric vehicle, so to speak. This is, we have a project, I think, to call out. We do have a station currently open just south on 495 in Hudson, which kind of led us to this location. That Hudson site has been doing exceptionally well. And we're looking to expand our infrastructure to keep up with the growing fleet of electric vehicles that are coming to New England, specifically Tesla vehicles here in New England. And so we think this is, a great opportunity to enable emission-free driving for both local and long distance travel. And wanted to hear the board's thoughts. I know my colleague who's not on the call, Ed Noseworthy, had spoken with Marin kind of at a high level on kind of the general location. So I'm happy to share my screen and just call out generally. And I can also, I have queued up a picture of our Hudson supercharger to help those who have never seen or been to a Tesla supercharger get familiar with just the overall aesthetics and orientation of one of these stations.
Can you actually show us what it looks like? Can you share the screen?
Yeah, absolutely. Give me one moment here.
I think it would probably be easier if you gave us all Teslas and we tried it.
Yeah. I wish I had that. I wish I had that ability. Unfortunately, I still pay the full price. I don't even get a discount, but that's usually the first question I get.
No, we don't want to own it. We just want to drive it for
Just drive it. Yeah. Well, I could take one into town hall when things calm down and give you guys a spin. But in any event, yeah, they're fun cars to drive and sharp looking cars. I think most would agree. But so here's our site in Hudson. We'd be proposing a very similar orientation. The only difference is this post here, that's for a pull-in vehicle. We're not proposing any of those in Littleton. They would just all be in line behind the curb. And so with the post, with the 12 posts, we would have 3 supercharger cabinets. So that's what these white cabinets are. This is actually our version 2 architecture. We've updated our architecture and hardware to enable 4 posts to come off of 1 cabinet. So this 8-stall orientation required 4 of our older cabinets, and now in Littleton, a 12-stall cabinet will, or a 12-stall design will only require 3 cabinets. So overall, less footprint and also faster charging times, which our owners are very excited about. And aside from that, there's a piece of switchgear adjacent to these cabinets, and you can see just behind the equipment separately metered pad-mounted transformer behind the cabinet and switchgear as well.
Do you have a specific spot at the point in mind for this?
Yep. So I think this is probably the easiest way to picture it, orient it here. So the area we're looking at is these 12 spaces back here. There's a few reasons why we chose this location. First and foremost is customer experience. So you would imagine, I'm sure you guys want to be right in the heart of everything. Really, what our owners prefer and what we prefer is to install in an area that is underutilized. So you're not displacing, current patrons or causing any customer pains from non-Tesla owners. And that way you kind of prevent a seamless integration of charging. I'm sure you guys have driven around perhaps and seen other charging infrastructure and perhaps non-electric vehicles parked in those spaces. And as a electric vehicle owner, that's always the worst outcome. So, kind of installing in an area of the property that would avoid any of those concerns is kind of always our objective. It also makes for an efficient design because we'd be tapping into power right here. So there's no long utility runs, and the equipment can be kind of tucked in, out of sight, out of mind, and the charge post would be just behind this curb line as well. So no restructure or reconfiguration of the parking as well.
Is it just for Tesla, or other vehicles can use it as well?
Yeah, the charging stations that we're installing are just for Tesla. So the project is subsidized by Tesla. We don't sign any exclusivity, and I know I've talked to Stefan and Tim, and they can probably comment on this as well. But there's nothing stopping another operator or vendor to install any other system to charge other electric vehicles on the premises as well. So it's not excluding anyone else. And most of the time, what we find, we're typically the first ones in. We have about 70% of the EV market share, so we're having to grow a lot quicker than anyone else in the market. And what we find is a lot of the third-party operators, when funding becomes available, they end up kind of migrating to where we have supercharger stations, and talking to the property owners as kind of a first resource, because they know the town is supportive of it, the property owner is supportive of it, and kind of Tesla's done their due diligence from a kind of route enablement standpoint. So it tends to entice other investments as well. But yes, to succinctly answer your question, it's only for Tesla vehicles.
So I'm used to seeing them at Starbucks and at Whole Foods, especially down in Florida. You see them everywhere down there. This is just an extension, actually, of that, I'm assuming. A place for people to stop, charge their car, and use facilities that are there, the restaurants, the supermarkets, the get your hair cut while your car is charging, whatever, just for 30 minutes.
Yeah, and so 30 minutes is the average dwell time. Some people stay shorter, some people stay longer. The kind of the life cycle of the charge is a little bit unique. It's not like filling up a gas tank where you have the same amount of gas going in the whole time. So the most efficient way to charge is from 0 to 50%. That's when you get the maximum rate, and it's more analogous to filling up a glass of water under the faucet, right? You can put the faucet on full blast, but then as the water starts to fill the glass, you want to taper down the faucet so you don't kind of overflow. And the same thing happens with the battery chemistry in our vehicles. So to actually fully charge the car, it's just over an hour, but most people charge up to around 80%, which is about 30 to 35 minutes. But that extra, 20, 25% takes almost just as long as that initial, 10 to 80% charge. And that's exactly right. And we actually find, it's great that you're not right up against other tenants from, as I said before, a customer experience standpoint, but it also makes the charge time not feel so long when you're, walking for 3-4 minutes to the Starbucks, get your cup of coffee. By the time you come back and hit up some stores, you're pretty much good to go. So that's the whole intent of EV charging. It's more to make it kind of ubiquitous and seamless in your day-to-day travel. As an EV owner, you really have a gas station at your house. Right. Most owners have a place to plug in every night, and this is just a great way. If you forgot to plug in, running errands, great stop off at the point, or you're traveling, commuting to work, or even, coming from, let's say, New York, traveling on, 495, maybe you're heading up the coast to Maine. This is a great kind of stopping point to get a bite to eat and stretch your legs.
There's no charge for this, right? I mean, it's no fee. I should say fee.
It all depends on when you purchased your vehicle. So a vast majority of our owners are still under a free to use network. And there, regardless if you're under a free or a pay to use, there's no point of sale system. Every Tesla owner has a My Tesla account. And when you plug in, we know kind of how long you're plugged in for, how many kilowatt hours you're using, and it's automatically billed to your account. So
you handle all that.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
So Trevor, I have a question in terms of the cost of installation, everything you mentioned subsidized. Does this cost the town anything?
No, this is completely an investment from Tesla. There's no funding or grants or anything from any source outside of Tesla's capital using to fund this project.
Well, we sell you the electricity though, right?
We pay for the electricity, yeah. So we're a high consumer of electricity. So the local municipality will certainly benefit from our use and having a new account there. But outside of that, there's no other kind of third party capital.
Okay.
What about security issues? Do you have any problems? And if it's 3 o'clock in the morning, is there site lighting? What are the issues?
Yeah, so we typically do that on a site-by-site basis. I think here we would probably look to perhaps install a light post or two because we had similar concerns. Obviously, at 3 in the morning, it would be great to be more in the front of the parking area and back behind here. It could feel maybe like you're a little isolated. So if there is a need, we always install lighting, and we would incorporate that in the plan set that we would submit. And so we haven't kind of fully fleshed out or gone down that path, but we take it as a site-by-site basis. Some sites that we've developed on are 24/7 operated, so it's the lights are always on. And here we'd likely look to add perhaps a light and match it to spec with what's existing on the property.
I mean, would you consider, liaising with the police department, which is literally across the street from the point, about what their concerns would be?
Yeah, we can certainly reach out to them. I'll say this is a very similar setup to what we have in Hudson and really across the country. And we haven't run into really any concerns or issues anywhere. So we have a site in Linfield, we have a site in Braintree, and we've never had any safety or security issues there. But that's something that we can certainly liaison with the local authorities and talk about any concerns they would have, and if they would agree that maybe lighting would be the best option, or just making them aware. We're happy to do whatever we need to.
I just have a question about, actually it's more to Tim. If this thing's wildly successful, and there's a lot of Teslas in Littleton, what would you do if you start to get backup? Like if people are queuing up to get in those spaces, how would that affect that site?
So at this location itself, I think it is, we don't have where this parking is, we don't have a building programmed ever in the front. So it's always going to be kind of in the middle of the lot. And even when we build out on building K, we have some opportunities we certainly can take into account what the situation is at the time. So if we decide we need a little more parking, we can try to program that in appropriately for that building. So I think this is a good site that will always be sort of lower use. We are talking to 2 office tenants right now for next door to Emerson. So I think that that whole upper floor of that building next to Emerson will never be real high intensity. So to Trevor's point, that I think this is always going to be sort of a slower corner of the point compared to down below. And if it is really backed up, and it really becomes a problem, I think we talk to Trevor and get, if he's interested in a second location here, we'll get, we'll add some on. If not right here, maybe across the parking lot or somewhere else where it's suitable. But to me, that's a little bit of a champagne problem question. And then I did want to touch.
I'm asking. I mean, if you're putting 2 office buildings on the last 2 pads, probably not a problem. But if you ever went residential there, could be a problem.
I think so. I think the residential component is a much bigger discussion if we ever get there with a lot of different parties. So we're not gonna. I don't think we're at the position now where we'd stop anything. Assuming we're gonna still assume it's a commercial development until we think that the residential is more viable. Then we'll sort of change on the fly. But
right. All right. Well, that was my only concern. Other than that, I have no concerns. I think they're all over the place. They work great. I've seen them in action in Hudson, and yeah, good. More power to you.
Tim, you have lighting up there currently now, right?
I believe that we do. I was going to defer to Steph, and I know we had planned on it, and I know I don't know where we stopped with installing that lighting. So I might ask Stefan if he knows off the top of his head what's there.
Yeah, the lighting, we have lighting actually in the row of parking at either end, right in front of those spaces. So the area that's that double row of parking directly in front of where Trevor was showing has lighting. That whole parking lot is lit up all night. I don't even know if Trevor would actually need to add any lights with the brightness that's there.
Yep, and just to real quickly put Tesla's lens on the previous question, I mean, this is exactly why we're looking to invest in another location, because we can forecast our sales growth and kind of have a good idea of the upcoming 1 to 2 year amount of vehicles and growth in our utilization that's going to be at each station and network. And as you can imagine, that's a priority problem for us. Like the last thing we would want to avoid, or the last thing we would want to have happen is a station that is, I would say, too successful, where you're having too many cars for the amount of spaces you have. And Hudson isn't there yet, but we're forecasting it will be there within the next 12 to 18 months, which is why we're looking to expand. So whenever that happens, we look to either expand on the existing property if there is room. If there's not, then we look at another area to invest in where most of the people would be traveling by and through. So to provide some optionality and not force everyone just to one location. And I think the other important feature is I think there's a ton of Teslas that go to the point right now. Not all of them need or would use the Supercharger network. Like I said, it's mainly facilitating long distance travel. Of course, they would be free to use it, and it's a great amenity for them to use. But if you live, right near town and you have a place to plug in, you would likely not abuse the local, we call abuse the local Supercharger too much, and it's been a winning combination. Through the 1,000 sites that we do have in North America.
Well, I mean, mark my words, like in 20 years, all those parking spaces will be electrified. So it's a good test for us.
Right. Yeah, I think that's the end goal, right? Is to make charging ubiquitous. So you're not, ever thinking about where do I need to go and plug in. Every property you do go has an opportunity to charge. And I know some jurisdictions are already putting regulations in for new developments. A certain portion of the spaces have to be EV compatible and EV ready. And I think that's mainly driven from a residential perspective, because that's again the bulk of people's charging is at home. 80% of the miles driven on our vehicles are charged via their home stations. So we're only talking about 20% of people's utilization is done at an outside network away from the home.
Well, if you can get Sam Park to work out a solar deal on those buildings, then you'd be even better off. So, I mean, I still don't see any solar panels out there, Tim.
That's right.
Talk to him about that.
Yeah, eventually we'll get the full ecosystem, one step at a time.
Anna, are you on board? Do you have any questions? Or did we lose you? Guess we lost her. I mean, this is just really.
I'm good. Thank
Oh,
you.
you're good? So this is just a modification to the site plan. Does anyone have any questions? Do we want to make a motion that we approve the 12 stations for Tesla to the site plan as
I'll make a motion to approve the.
amended? I mean,
Yeah.
I have no problem.
we have to wait. I have a helicopter going overhead. Coast Guard.
He's Mark.
Okay, I can hear now. All right, Jerry's made a motion to amend the site plan
Approve the site plan as amended.
to include the 12 charging stations for Tesla to the back. What will we call that? The Emerson Hospital parking lot? We call it that?
Yes, yep.
I'll second.
Anna seconds it. Jeff,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Tim, vote? I guess you can. Anna,
Yes.
and I say yes. So I think that's a great add to there, and I'm sure it's going to do nothing but help the businesses at the point, because the way this thing works, people come, go grab 30 minutes worth of coffee or shopping and charge their cars while they're doing it. And I think
More revenue for us.
more, yeah, great for us. Thank you. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Trevor.
Yeah, absolutely. And just one quick question. So when we have kind of the fully baked construction drawing and signed and sealed plans, I guess we would submit and they would just be approved administratively at this point, since we have the approval from.
Yeah. It doesn't look like you're really going to be impacting too much out there. It all looks like it's on the other side of the parking lot. Well, you're going to put the boxes out behind the parking spaces. We'll just take a look at the box, make sure that they're not going to be an issue. I kind of doubt they're going to be. The transformer's already there. Pretty benign as far as I'm concerned.
Great.
Easy.
Anyone else have any comments or issues? Guess not.
No, I just can't wait to see all those Teslas queued up on the.
I just think we should try it out, though. I think bring one down, nice little rig. So I'll see how they fit and how easy it is to charge it. I think, maybe operational.
Yeah,
Let's get a Tesla store in the point.
Yeah,
cool too.
That's not a bad idea. I'm sure that's something Sam's very interested in.
Yeah.
Devin and Tim, but I agree. I think that would be a great location. We just opened a site up in Peabody, and when I first came to Boston 5 years ago, we only had one location, and now we have, I think, 4 and 3 service centers. So we're growing like crazy, which is a good thing, and we're excited to continue to invest in the state and invest in local towns, drive revenue, and enable emission-free driving. At the end of the day, that's our number one objective, and to accelerate the transition to this sustainable energy. So really appreciate everyone's time and support, and we're excited to be in town.
Thank you.
Talk to the selectmen about hosting Tesla Week at the point.
Nice.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I know.
Thank you all.
Yep, I know. From time to time, we do have test drive events. So I think that may be, and I know our own owners put together their own events and kind of cars and coffee meetups, so to speak. So we have an enthusiastic bunch. They tend to know about sites months ahead of time before we're even in construction. So I'm sure we'll have some happy owners in the area, and we're equally excited to kind of keep the project moving along.
Thank you. Okay.
All right. Thanks for everyone's time.
Thank
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have an 8:00 site plan modification for the Wickham Ave water testing facility. I believe we have Nick. I see Nick. Okay. And do you want to give us an overview of what your modifications are, Nick?
Sure. I got Corey Godfrey from the water department here as well. I think he has a little presentation Mary, I'm not sure if you have it for him or if he's running it.
That's up to Corey. Corey, would you like to, or would you like me to?
I can run it if you don't mind. I'll try to
Yeah,
share my
sure.
screen now.
Yep, go right ahead.
All right, can you see that?
Yep.
All right. You want me to dive in, Nick, or do you want to start out with anything?
No, you can dive right in. Go ahead.
Okay. So I just threw up this Google Earth image to orient anyone. So we got Taylor Street here. Can you see the cursor moving down there?
Yep.
Okay. So Taylor Street there, and we got Whitcomb Ave here, and Sanderson Road here. And so the location we're talking about is the field right here in the middle. Just give you a little bit of background. I know, I mean, there's enough background on this project to fill 40 slides probably, but I'm going to try to boil it down to just a few main points here. This is the fourth time that we're in front of the board for this project, but I believe only 2 of the current members were on the board the last 3 times we were here.
Yeah.
So you can feel free to stop me at any time to ask questions or to go into more depth on any historic details. But the big picture points are that a site plan for the water treatment plant was approved by the board on June 6, 2019. And 2 months after that, we discovered a contaminant known as PFAS in our water supply. So then working closely with DEP, Department of Environmental Protection, and our engineering consultants, we determined that the most efficient and cost-effective solution to the PFAS problem was to modify the Whitcomb Ave water treatment plant design and to treat water from both the Whitcomb Ave wells and the Spectacle Pond well at one location. As you can imagine, one facility is often more efficient and cost-effective than 2 facilities. So that's sort of the background on the project, real high level. This is going back to the original plan back in early 2019, which called for a 7,000 square foot building on the site. As you can see right here. I'll just skip ahead real quick here. At that time, we held a pre-permitting abutters meeting and adjusted the facility layout and added extra landscaping to address some concerns there. So you can see the extra trees we added down here along Whitcomb Ave, some landscaping around here. And then we actually made a second revision last year where we added significantly more landscaping, moved the facility a little bit further from the property lines, some additional small changes that were requested by the abutters. And now here we are at the current plan that's being proposed now. So since we're treating twice the amount of water as originally planned, and we're also treating for PFAS now, in addition to the iron and manganese, the building's now 10,500 square feet. But other than that, we've essentially left the site the way it was on the previous plan. And I'll just mention the PFAS filter vessels, they're 24 feet high, and they need to be inside the building, obviously. So in order to keep the building from being even larger than 10,000 square feet, we rearranged the interior equipment quite a bit, and we actually sunk the floor down below grade significantly. I think it's maybe 10 feet below grade to accommodate that PFAS filtration without, enlarging the building even further. And so
So are you saying, I'm sorry, Corey, real quick. So you're saying it's not any higher than it was originally?
Right. No, it's the same height as the original.
Okay.
Just
All right.
larger footprint. Yep. So I think the most pertinent zoning and stormwater criteria are listed here. You can see the comparison of 2019 and 2020. So we had to increase the impervious coverage a little bit. The building's larger, so that makes sense. Went up 0.5%. A little bit more area of disturbance, about 5,000 square feet more. But the stormwater calculations are all the same, actually, because in addition to the infiltration basin that we have on site, we're using porous pavement throughout much of the paved areas. So that didn't change at all. So big picture, the only major change really is that the building's a bit larger. And I just figured I'd show you some of the elevation views real quick. So the south elevation that you see on the top here, that's the view you would have from Wickham Ave looking onto the site. The north elevation is the opposite side facing Sanderson Road.
Mhm.
You were planning on using split face block here, asphalt shingles. And now the east elevation, so that would be facing the Taylor Street or the VFW over there in the corner. And then the west elevation view, that's from the Sanderson Field to the west of our site. Then I just figured I'd show up the more detailed site layout in case anybody had any questions, wanted to drill into anything. There's a little more information on this slide here. But that's really all I had as far as the overview of what the changes are and what we're doing here. So we're happy to answer any questions the board might have or anybody else might have.
Board have any questions? Jerry, do you have any questions?
Is that going to remove the water restriction on my house?
Should. Should. It's a couple years away, so we'll have to see.
Let's go.
F?
I'm just wondering about the grading. Is it graded up along Wickham Avenue, or I can't see on this drawing, but there were a lot of contours in some of the other drawings.
I think the grading's essentially the same as it is on the site for the most part, other than what you might have seen. Let me go back here. Are you referring to this area in here?
I can't see much. There just seems like there's a lot of contour lines.
Yeah, so right here is the bio-retention basin for the stormwater.
So those are actually going down. They're not going up.
That's right. Yeah. And it'll be landscaped, so from the road, you probably wouldn't even see the depression, but as you pull up in the driveway here, you would notice the depression there, and that's just for the stormwater to.
Well, I think the concern from the abutters would be seeing the building. It's not a thing of beauty, and it's to go from an open field to that building is a shock. So I would really encourage you to pay a lot of attention to the landscaping,
and
it's probably most effective along the road.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's some existing.
We've sat down with the abutters several times. They won't tell us what they want. Instead, they brought litigation against the planning board and the water department. So we would love to work with them on this, but they're not talking to us.
Well, I would completely support the fact that this is a necessary project. I mean, Littleton is, I wouldn't say we're running out of water, but it's not what it was 20 years ago. And if we want to grow and we want to be able to support growth, we need access to water. I mean, you guys killed my front lawn this year, just letting you know. And I'm paying the same taxes I paid last year. So if this is going to alleviate the water problems we have in Littleton, which aren't related to the drought, then I'm all for it. I understand you guys didn't anticipate the PFAS impact, but it's been an impact. So we have plans for growing this town. We need a good water supply system, and we don't need to be unduly burdened by water restrictions simply because we have to deal with PFAS. But I think something like this is important to move forward on. And yeah, do your best to mitigate the site, but this is town property and it's for the benefit of the town as a whole. I'm not really all that concerned with the abutters, to be quite honest with you. I think the need here supersedes that.
Okay, thanks, Jerry.
Anna, do you have any concerns?
I don't think I have any concerns. I had a quick question. There was something in, I think maybe the email about waiving some fees. What's the magnitude of those fees?
I don't have that information off the top of my head. I don't know if Maren does, or if we have our consultants from Time Bond here as well. They might have that off the top of their head.
I was just curious what those were.
That would have been a site plan review fee. They were waived the last 2 times, so I didn't calculate what it would have been.
Okay. Well, I just want to make sure that we're not talking significant amounts. And then the second question I had for planning board members is, I don't think we've had a peer review on this, and just wondering if anybody is thinking, given especially the change in plans, whether that's something we should do.
we've gone through all of that for the original site plan. If this is a modification to it, it's a couple thousand square feet. I personally don't
I
think,
don't know what would be the purpose. I mean, this is a town agency. Like what we would typically do that with an applicant because we wouldn't have recourse, but this is a town agency. The town always has recourse.
I was just asking. Again, we did it for the library, so, you know.
and we did this originally for when we first put it in. And now it's a slight modification, which is probably, if you want to use the library as an analogy, if they wanted to add a little bit, we would handle this probably as a modification to their site plan. And
Okay.
not send it back out to peer review because
Just wanted to put it out there, like I said,
okay,
because
I
it's-
personally don't think we need, I was on the board when we did it originally. I think Jerry was on it too. I agree with Jerry that this is necessary to sustain good drinking water in the town of Littleton. I think the fact that they're going down instead of up to try to keep the footprint, try to keep the aesthetics of the buildings, whether you like them or you don't. I'm pretty good with that.
yeah, no, I don't have any other questions.
Okay. All right. Do we have anybody, any questions? Anybody in the audience, Martin, or anybody raising their hands? Is there anybody want to talk? Anyone out there?
Nobody with their hands raised with a question for the water department.
Okay. So do you want to make a motion to approve the modifications of the site plan, or do you want to?
I'll do it. I'll make a motion to approve the modifications to the site plan as shown,
As proposed?
as proposed.
Okay. Do we have a second? I'll second it then. Okay. Can we bring up the full screen so I can see everybody's face, Maren? So I can ask them their vote? There we go. So I'll start with Jerry.
Yes.
Jeff?
Do you need my vote?
It's a special permit.
Yeah. Well,
No,
it's
it's not a special permit.
Oh,
it's
I'm
a
sorry, you're right, you're right. It's not a special permit because of the impervious. You're right, sorry.
Right. So you need minimum of 3 votes?
I am going to abstain. I object to the aesthetics of that building. I'm sorry. It's the lowest common denominator. And as an architect, I'm offended by it.
Okay. Anna?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Fix Jerry's lawn, please, so we don't have to listen to him.
Well, maybe you guys should at least talk to Jeff and find out what his concerns are.
Sure.
Yeah, if you could, I agree. I've always stated that I would have liked it to be more looking like a farmhouse kind of thing, to sit in that field. I know it's it's a commercial building for the water department, and maintenance is an issue, but if they could stop it a little bit to keep everybody happy, that would be great. I would love that, but.
We offered that to the abutters and they said no. So, I mean, at some point.
It's not just the abutters who are concerned, it's the entire town who.
Yeah, but it's our goal of this project to solve our water emergency. We've got a public health crisis here and we're talking about aesthetics. So I think we should
I'm sorry. That's part of life. I'm sorry.
But
okay. All right.
If you could soften it, that'd be great, but otherwise,
Sure.
We're not gonna, tie the water department. They do a great job at everything they do, so we need the water, especially.
All right. Thanks a lot. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, we're right back on schedule. We're close. We have an 8:15 public hearing for the G7 Labs, 160 Air Road, adult marijuana testing facility.
Yeah.
Special permit.
Yep. Do you want me to read the hearing notice?
Sure.
Okay, consolidated public hearings, adult use marijuana establishment, testing laboratory, water resource district special permits at 160 Air Road, Unit 3. Town of Littleton Planning Board will hold a consolidated public hearing on Thursday, August 6th at 8:15 p.m. to consider the application for special permits pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, and the Court of Town of Littleton. The application is for an adult use marijuana establishment, testing laboratory, and water resource district special permits and site plan review under section 173.16 through 173.19, 173.61 through 173.64, and section 173.194 through 173.202 of the Code of the Town of Littleton zoning. Property location, 160 Air Road, Unit 3, Assessor's Map, R22, Parcel 1-1, applicant G7 Lab LLC, owner Athena Assets. The applicant is seeking an adult use marijuana establishment, testing laboratory, and water resource district special permits to allow a marijuana testing laboratory at this site. There will be no direct retail sales from this facility. Applications and plans can be viewed online at the town website or at the planning board and town clerk's office by appointment. Any person are interested or wishing to be heard on the proposed plan should appear at the time and the place designated or provide comment by August 4th, if possible, to my email address or mailing address. And then we go into the, please note that in-person attendance at the meeting is currently restricted. Given building closures due to COVID-19, the public hearing can be viewed live on LCTV or online. The meeting will be held remotely via Zoom video conferencing, and those details will be available on the planning board agenda when posted, a minimum of 48 hours prior to the August 6th meeting. Please feel free to call the planning board office with any questions. Signed, Jeffrey Yates, clerk.
Great. Jim, are you gonna start?
Yes, I'd like to. Thank you, Mr. Montanari. Blake Mensing had handled the informal meeting on July 9th. I did view that meeting, so I am apprised of it. We thought everything went well. It was a good presentation. I think one of the board members indicated it was very comprehensive, even just being an informal. Shortly thereafter, we filed our formal applications. We've met all of the notice requirements, publication requirements, the fees. We have what we think is a very comprehensive, complete, and compliant application in front of you for these three approvals. One thing that we're very happy to tell you today is that earlier today at the monthly Cannabis Control Commission monthly meeting, G7 received its provisional license. Now that was expedited for two reasons. As Blake Mensing had indicated, there's a lack of testing labs in the state to keep up with the growth of the industry. I think Blake had mentioned just 3 or 4 have come online. So the commission is expediting these testing lab applications. They need to really spring up so they can meet the demand for the testing. In addition to that, the firm, G7, is a minority-owned business designated firm. And that was the other reason the CCC expedited its application. So we fully expect they'll expedite the final license as well. But this provisional license allows us to prepare construction drawings once we get our approvals from this board. There's minor fit out being done inside the building. There's no load bear walls being modified, just minor retrofit like any office. All activities are taking place inside of the building. And this will allow the company to proceed with financing of the laboratory equipment it needs, any bridge construction loan it needs for any fit out, finalize any real estate transaction paperwork with the owner. And we still need, I believe, the police department's approval of the security plan. We have no negative feedback. We understand the fire department just indicated that there was some fire protection and fire control training that they'd like the employees to go through. As we indicated, all activity will be taking place inside the building. There's no need for, other than regular office waste, there's a common dumpster in the rear of the building. The receptacle that would hold the waste product from the testing, it will be inside the building. It'll be properly secured as required by the CCC and mixed with organic products so it can be dumped in an organic landfill. No signage other than a G7 identification on the door. Lighting and camera systems to still be confirmed with the police department. But just given the small space, we would anticipate that being minimal in the rear and in the front. We have plenty of parking, as Bruce shows on his site plan. We only need about 6 spaces. I think the condominium unit is entitled to up to 8 spaces. There's, I believe, some potential restriping of the lot going on as upgrades, so we're not affected by any of that. We have the parking. Approximately 5 or 6 employees at any given time. And I would say typical laboratory hours of, I don't think we'd want to be limited to a 9 to 5 office type. I don't know if this board has a custom of limiting hours for the marijuana establishment, but given this is a testing lab and how busy they will be with all of the work they'll need to do with the lack of testing labs, I think we would seek at least 7 a.m. to say 7 p.m. for its operations. Bruce can get into the aquifer protection and water resource district protections that are necessary, but with everything stored inside and proper handling of the minor amounts of product and chemicals involved, there are no issues there. We don't see any need for any monitoring of the system. Shankar had put together a very comprehensive and a very a well-done PowerPoint presentation. He is on the call. If he's able to present that, it would give you a quick overview of the operations and how well prepared he and his partner are to undertake. They're very well qualified, and we're anxious to go. We are. We have no knowledge of any abutter opposition whatsoever. We've had no negative feedback. We think we've got it's a great use. It's an innocuous use. It's typical, almost like an office space use. Perfect for that setting, perfect for that location. We are looking forward to a favorable vote without being presumptuous, and we're happy to get into any detail or answer any questions you may have this evening. But Shankar would like to get up, G7 would like to get up and running by the end of the year. We still need, again, the security plan. We need our building permit. We need our certificate of occupancy. We need to provide all plans to the CCC. They have to combine into a final inspection as well before we can begin operating. But with all of that ahead of us, we would like to request, perhaps if it's been something your board has done in the past, perhaps an affirmative vote tonight. We've got a comprehensive, compliant, and a complete set of applications in front of you. We could think of no issues. If there are any questions, we'd certainly like to be made aware of them and answer them. We have a 4-member board. The owner of the property is the sitting member of the board, Delissa Laterzo. She is the owner of that unit. So we know we need all 4 votes. We want to make sure we answer every question and there are no issues, because we would greatly appreciate a unanimous approval.
Thank you, Jim. Do we need to, does anyone want to look at the site plan?
Yes.
Do you want to see?
I think parking is the only question I have.
Okay. Bruce, can you bring that up, or will Maren bring that up?
If Maren can bring it up, that'd be helpful. I can do it, but it's I'm running off of one computer on vacation here, so little laptop.
Okay, just a moment.
Thank you.
What would be a planning board meeting without Bruce Ringwald?
I'm trying, guys, trying to help. Maren, if you can just zoom us in a little bit, cut out my title block and get to the site itself. Perfect.
Nope, not too far. Well,
That's close enough.
there's nothing in the middle.
There you go. Perfect. Right there. All right. So along the top of the site is Air Road. On the left-hand side of the site, as you're looking at it, is a common driveway which services the several facilities off of this common drive. As soon as you turn in off of Air Road, the first driveway is a adequate 24-foot wide two-way access coming on in. and the majority of the parking is between the building and Air Road. There will be a sign that's not shown on this plan, but we've had conversations with building inspector and with the police department to put a sign up at the far end of the building as the driveway loops around, that employees and deliveries only for on the back there, so that visitors to the site, to any of the sites out front, would use the in and out in the front and the parking in the front. The parking and the loading in the back are for the various different units and employees and security in the back. So there's no need for anybody visiting the site to be going around the back of the building for that purpose. There's no new impervious area. We're working all within the impervious area, impervious areas that are there. No new pavement. If you look closely at this plan, there are existing pavement stripings, and we're refining that a little bit to provide the adequate handicap and van spaces, and to fill in where there wasn't striping, to add in additional spaces. We'll be bringing the parking to 66 parking spaces in this manner. The building uses as we've seen them and gone through it with various different property owners and proposed tenants, calls for 57 spaces total, and we'll be at 66. And that include, plus on top of that, there is 3 handicap spaces and 3 loading spaces.
Hey. Zach, any questions, Jeff?
Nope.
Jerry, do you have any questions?
Is that going to be enough? I mean, where's the retail one? Right next to it?
The retail unit would be next to it. The retail parking, we have some additional plans in mind for that. But under the current bylaw, this more than meets the parking requirements under the bylaw. And for this use, definitely. And this is where we're at right now.
No, I know, but like, all right. I mean,
we have other plans, Jerry.
Could get tight in there.
Another hearing.
Yeah.
Myron, this has gone to the police department. Have they sent us any comments on it, or are they still looking over the security issues there, and they'll get back to us?
Yeah, I don't have their comments yet, but I understand that they are reviewing the security information.
What about the fire department? They've looked at it. Is this building sprinkled?
I believe it is.
It would be good to have both the police and the fire reports before we make our decision.
Before we vote, absolutely.
And actually, the fire safety weighs in at the building permit stage.
Okay.
Correct.
What about smell? I want to make sure that when we did the grow facility, smell was an issue that we didn't anticipate, and obviously they've taken care of it. I want to make sure that nothing's going to be released. There's the testing will not involve having to release any kind of burning.
There won't be any odor, from my understanding from discussions with Sakar. They will have very limited quantities of product, and the product will be kept in the proper containment and locked facilities. When it's out for testing, it won't be generating any smell, and he is going to have filters within the building just to ensure that there's no smell or odor released anywhere.
Well, Bruce, do you know if they're testing with, like, is it gas chromatograph?
I think if Sakar, if you unmute yourself, if you can answer some of that, maybe.
Yes, definitely. There is going to be a gas chromatograph within the laboratory.
Right, but is there any other combustion event there? I mean, from my standpoint, if your testing equipment is a gas chromatograph,
yeah,
no one's going to ever know.
Yeah, so there is other than the scientific equipment like mass spectrometers, ICP-MS, and LCM SMS, GCM SMS, there is no combustion outside of the equipment. It's all done within the equipment. Does that answer your question?
Well, yeah, I mean, that would eliminate any cause for a smell ever, right?
Yeah. Plus, I'm gonna install two filters. There are special filters that circulate the air within the unit, and these filters have potassium permanganate and some other chemicals that absorb terpenes within the air. Terpenes are the compounds, volatile compounds that actually produce smells in the air. And I'm gonna have these filters deployed within the unit to absorb all or any that might be coming out within the unit.
Like they're covered.
Okay. Anna, do you have any questions?
So my question, just to be clear, is that the entrance to the lab is through the front where the two handicap spaces are. Is that correct?
That is correct.
It's over where there is the van parking space, more to the center of the building. Where the two handicap spaces are is right in front of cherry wood or cherry stone furniture.
Okay, so
in the center of the building is where the entrance is to G7.
Right where that shaded area is, right by that.
That's correct. And it has its own private entrance going in.
okay, so that's into unit number 3 only.
Correct.
So
That's correct.
okay, into unit number 3, and then is there a back door as well?
Yes, there is. There's a stairwell on the back that comes down by where there used to be a loading dock, but that loading dock has been closed off and glassed and walled off. And police chief has been on the site along with the building commissioner, and they were comfortable with the review, but as I think Maren said, they're reviewing the camera locations and such to make sure they're good with all that.
Okay.
On the same note, earlier there was a concern when I was in mute about being circulated with police department and fire department. I have circulated my security plans with Chief of Police Bernard and Fire Chief, and I have received feedback from both of them saying, Police Chief Bernard said the plans, security plans look fine and adequate. I will need to do a site inspection once they are in place, and which I said I will personally invite you to the site to inspect the site once it's fitted out. And Fire Chief had mentioned that he would want yearly training to all employees for fire safety, and I said I will comply with that request, and that's actually a standard in any laboratory. Fire safety is done an orientation and a yearly training and a yearly drill. So I just wanted to mention that the fire chief and police chief have reviewed my security plans. I also wanted to mention in the beginning, Jim had mentioned about hours, and hours were actually also confirmed by Board of Selectmen to be most of the labs within the state operate 24/7. And then I had requested the same situation, but Board of Selectmen approved from 6 a.m. to 12 a.m. Of operation.
Thank you,
I
Shannon.
just wanted to mention that.
Forgive me for misstating.
Can I make a comment about that? You should look at your application because it says 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. in the application.
Yeah.
I thought that was weird, and I assumed it was meant to be 12 a.m., and you might want to change that.
Thank you. That's clearly a typo. I'll correct that.
So I appreciate what you just said, and I would still maintain that we would just. I know I would like to hear formally from our police chief, whether it's a memo or something. Yeah.
I agree with that. I don't think we can vote it until we actually have a letter from the police and fire department saying that they're on board. I don't think that's an issue. Doesn't sound like it's an issue, but
right.
I don't think we can vote it tonight until we actually have that in hand. So maybe we can put you on the September agenda, and hopefully by that time everything will be all taken care of.
Okay, we're certainly happy to, I don't want to use the word pester, but pursue that with the two chiefs. Perhaps that could be made a condition, or would you prefer you see there?
I think we'd rather vote it once we have it in our hot little hands.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
I would feel more comfortable that way. You know?
and you would,
And could we request that we have a draft decision ready so that it could be signed at that next meeting? Sakar's got a lot of equipment that has to get put in place, tested and calibrated. All that's going to take a lot of time, and he can't move forward with all the financing without your approvals.
I don't have a problem if your lawyers want to send something over to Myron so that you can forward it to town council to take a look at it. If Jim's going to do it, I have no problem doing that. I'm just telling you that we're not going to vote it until we.
I understand. I just want to try to help cut out another month down the road so that he can get things moving, because there's a lot of work that has to go to get the project up and running.
Is that fair? Anna, do you have a problem with having them send the language over? Obviously, we're not going to vote it until we have everything we need, but if they want to send over the draft decision.
Yeah, we were going to have to get through some more stuff tonight, though. So.
and
Okay.
are all four board members expected to be at the next hearing in September?
We ran that earlier, and we're all going to be there for the September 10th meeting. Yes.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
We have more stuff to talk about.
Yes, sorry, Jerry. So on the site plan for parking, there's a space there for the number of spaces, and it's not filled out as to how many spaces are allocated for this. So I think that's another thing that you all need to take care of.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure what you're saying, Anna.
In one of the documents that you sent, there
Yeah.
isn't, it actually specified, or it actually asked how many number of spaces for this application, and it's blank. There's nothing there. So that's
On
something
the
that
site
needs to be
plan or on an application?
on the application. Yeah.
It is on the site plan, though, for the lab,
Yeah.
the number of spaces.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
I
it
was
should
gonna
be on
say,
the
it's on the
application
site
as well.
plan.
It should be on the application as well.
Okay, we'll correct that with the hours as well.
Okay, great.
Anything else, Anna?
Yeah, so it's titled G7 Special Permit App Signed, and it's 4 pages long. So a couple of the things that are on here, I just wanted to literally go through this list and make sure that we have everything. Okay?
Okay.
So the site plan, everything was received in terms of the drawings, the vicinity map, existing conditions. So we've only seen the one sheet that was given to us, right?
That's correct.
So what about all of this other,
All of what?
in terms of anything else that's listed on here?
Well, the vicinity map is on there. There's a locus map. All of the site data is on there with the zoning overlays and distances. There's plan reference. There's a note that the existing condition survey was conducted by my office. There is a zoning chart on the bottom of the plan that shows that the building meets all the required setbacks. The coverage of the building meets the requirements of zoning, and the impervious area meets the requirements of the zoning.
Okay, and what about the utilities plans?
Sorry, what's that?
It says utility plans.
Utilities plan. That shows where the gas and water come into the site and where the meters are in the back of the building. That's all shown on the plan.
Okay, and then the exterior lighting, is that on there as well?
There's no lighting except for architectural downlighting.
So given the nature of the business, don't you think there should be more lighting? Is that part of the
Oh,
security
I'm sorry,
plan?
there is lighting. There's lighting in the parking lot in the front, and that's shown on the plan, and it's called out in the legend.
Okay.
There's 2 lamps out front that light the front parking lot.
So,
In place.
Okay.
at this point, since this is going to be open till midnight, I'm assuming that you're not having people bring samples at that time. You're going to have certain hours for samples, and testing interior will be in a locked facility with your your staff in there, but what are your hours of actually accepting samples?
9 to 5.
So it's regular, normal business hours?
Regular, normal business hours. Only I need to be able to run my lab 24/7 if I get a volume. I mean, my equipment, so that I can run my equipment overnight if I needed, so that I can program the equipment, leave them running, and come back in the morning and write up. That's the purpose. Like when you say a restaurant is open from like 9 to 5, the cook doesn't come in at 9. The cook comes in at 5 a.m. and prepares all the things ready to go for the customers. That's kind of what I wanted for hours of operations, if that makes sense.
I just wanted to make sure that you're not going to be accepting deliveries at midnight.
Nope.
All right, so I'm going to keep moving then to page 4 of that document. Total trip generation of existing and proposed uses. Where did you provide that?
I don't have that on here, so I'll have to check on that. I'm not sure.
Okay, if you could please provide that for the application. And then the next item down is architectural plans and drawings. So again, given the nature of the work, if you're not showing us the interior and whatnot, I understand that, but the police needs to be able to see the drawings and to understand what's inside, how it's inside. I recall during our last hearing in July, there was a kind of a graphic of what it could look like. And I had some concerns about, how close the kitchen was, the bathroom was to the actual lab area. Were they actually cordoned off, or were there mitigations in effect for the kind of work that's going to be done in the lab? And since we haven't seen any architectural drawings for the inside, we have nothing to go off of.
Shankar, was that the same plan you had submitted today to Maren that was shown at the preliminary? The same floor plan?
That is correct.
Okay.
So yeah, we'd like the fire department and the police department to at least see what the interior layout. If you don't want to show us, I totally get that. You don't want it made public, but the fire department and police department should at least know how the layout's going to be in the interior to make sure that they're comfortable and they get back to us that it's safe inside and it's protected inside.
Yeah,
Mark,
just to
can I ask you a question on that?
sure,
You guys are gonna have to pull a building permit for this, right?
correct.
So the building inspector is gonna come in and ensure that you meet building code for a lab, right?
Correct.
So I'm not sure what the need is for this board to contemplate that.
Well, I think we need the fire department and police department to sign off on this. They should at least know what the internal flow of the building's going to be. I get it.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying that the interior of that building is already governed by code, and it will be inspected by a professional who presumably meets fire and police standards.
And what I'm saying is this is part of the special permit application. So that's part of why I'm going through it, making sure that we have a completed application before we proceed to consider it. So that's part of why I'm going through it, Jerry.
So if I may, if we have
Go ahead,
fire,
Bruce.
police and the building commissioner sign off prior to the next meeting, that they've seen the plans and that they're happy with the plans, would that be adequate, Mr. Chair?
It's got to be safe, and it's got to be the fire department and police department have to make sure that they're comfortable with the internal layout of the building. We'd like to see it. I understand for security reasons, you may not want to make it public. So I think if you show it to them and they sign off and get back to us that they've seen the internal layout, I guess I'm okay with that. I don't know if
I can actually forward the emails to Maren that I received from police chief and fire chief in written documentation that they have seen the plan and they've given me feedback on both the plans. I reached out to both of them through town administrator Nina, and they've seen the security plan of the inside, the architectural drawing of the inside, and I've gotten feedback. It's sitting in my email, and I can forward forward those to you any minute you like.
Can you forward the actual plan if you want to keep it as part of?
Because of the open meeting law, I will not be able to send you the security plan, but the internal floor plan has been posted on, it's communicated to Marin today, and it was posted on the planning board project website, where the internal layout, how it's going to be laid out, and where the laboratory area is separated from the public area, the administrative area, and all that's been submitted, and it's already posted on the website.
So,
Let me
Mr.
offer-
Kakar,
can I offer this before we go through all this, it sounds like we have a checklist that needs to be completed. It needs to be populated with artifacts. Why don't we just agree that that was not done, and that you guys need to go through that, provide us a checklist, provide us the artifacts that go to that checklist, so that we can run through it before the meeting and come to here and talk about the issues we have, rather than doing an administrative task in the middle of this meeting.
Right.
If it wasn't
I would agree.
then we should just, you guys need to complete it and come back to us.
Thank you, Jerry. I would agree. So that's really where I'm coming at, because I noticed that some of these things weren't a part of the application, and I would like to reiterate to our applicants and to anybody else watching, you need to submit stuff in a timely manner, which means a week beforehand, not the day of, because we're not going to have time to see it. And so for as much as you're in a hurry, guess what? You are your own worst enemy when you don't submit stuff that's on the checklist and you don't submit it on time. So it's on you.
We understand it. We think those are minor items. We can accomplish them with in a short time, and we want to make sure we satisfy the board's concerns, given your 4-member vote, and we will work with police and fire and building department and get some more detailed floor plans and the traffic counts, and we'll draft some decisions which we hope can be considered. And let's see.
That's terrific. And congratulations on receiving your provisional license today. I know that you must be very excited. And if you can provide a copy to that as well tomorrow, and that would be terrific.
Yes, whatever we can download from the CCC website. Go ahead, Shankar.
I personally haven't received a copy, but once I receive it, I will be happy to submit the copy of provisional license as well.
Thank you. Anna, anything else?
Well, I had one more quick question. So in going through the supporting documents, I just had a question as to how many managers are there of the LLC? Is it just one manager, or are there more managers?
It's just me and my wife right now. It's not a big, huge lab. And from the plans, you can tell there are going to be 2 techs hired, 2 careers hired. But it's just me and my manager. It's like a small laboratory. I want to emphasize on that.
Okay. And you will be on site?
Yes, 100% of the time, correct.
Okay. Well, I hope you get some sleep. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Anyone else? Jeff, you have any other questions?
No, I did run through the materials that they'd previously submitted, and when I got to exhibit XYZ or whatever that was 167 pages long, I just zipped through it. So I think the application, despite the items we talked about today, was pretty complete.
Jerry, any other issues?
No.
Anna, we're good. So why don't we continue this? Hopefully you'll have everything, a nice, neat package for us on the 10th of September, and we'll get answers back from the fire department and the building department and the police department, and we can take a look at your rough draft of a decision.
Okay, and the time slot for the agenda are continued hearings, typically at the beginning of your hearings.
Myron, when can we put them on?
If we leave an hour for Hager Homestead, this would be 7:45.
Does that work for you? Jim?
I'm a late sleeper, so yes, it does.
7:45 p.m.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Are we good? So we'll continue this until 7:45 on this December. Why do I keep saying December? September 10th, and hopefully you can get everything to us sooner rather than later, and we'll get a chance to look at it, and we'll try to accommodate you with the time frame that you're asking for.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for your time.
Thank you. Okay, now we have an 8:45, which we're,
So actually, Mark, I'd recommend a vote on the continuing.
I'll entertain, anyone want to make a motion to continue this till till 7:45, September 10th?
I so move.
Second,
All right, second. All those in favor, Anna,
yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. So four of us will see you September 10th at 7:45.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Myron. We have an 8:45 A&R for Barron Way. All right, Myron, do your magic. To speak on this, or are we doing this on our own?
I'm present.
Who's got their hand raised?
I don't know how to,
Well, then we can't hear you then.
wait.
No, I'm kidding. I believe it sounds like it could be Sherry Gould. I might be wrong.
Sounds like it could
You're
be.
right, and I can't find my picture.
No, the picture's already up. Oh, your picture, you mean?
Yeah, but I see you, it's fine. Oh, there you go. Myron, just let me start it. Hi,
Okay, you want to give us a brief overview of what's going on here?
we came before you almost probably a year ago now to create two A&R lots on the property of Jenny Barron, which is down on Barron Way. The Barron family owned it historically almost forever, and the fee in Barron Way across the Barron land frontage belongs to the Barrons. So if you look at the plan, lot 3A with the house and the septic system and the proposed leach field, that is the house that Jenny is in now. It has 150 feet of frontage on Barron Way, and it has the requisite 40,000 plus square feet. If you look lower down, there's something called existing parcel A. That just happens to be a waterfront piece that annexes to this 3A with a tiny walking path and gives that house access to Spectacle Pond. The lot we're trying to create is proposed lot 3B. It has 35 feet of frontage on Spectacle Pond Road, and it has 81,000 square feet. That I'll call the new lot, and the new lot has an R factor of 0.4. When we originally came before you, it was at the time that Mr. Kennard was developing his land, and we brought to your attention that Mrs. Barron finds herself a widow and in need of doing something with the property that would enable her to stay in her home. So by creating this extra lot, she would be able to have some funds to raise her family as a result, of her husband's demise. When we first came before you also, it did appear as though we weren't going to make the R factor of 4. So we had a preliminary discussion. The board was generally in favor of allowing this division. We have done similar things on Cricket Lane in the past, but we did take the time to go before the Zoning Board of Appeals. I recused myself. Bruce Ringwald was her engineer at the time, and he was successful in getting a decision for less than an R factor of 4. Since then, the engineer is Russ Wilson, went back to him. He was able to shift the lines just a little bit and get the R factor of 4. So while you have that decision, it probably is not even relevant. The frontage, like I said, is 150 on Barron Way, 35 on Spectacle Pond Road for the new lot, and they meet the criteria for an A&R plan.
Okay. Jeff, do you have any questions?
Nope. I remember this from my Board of Appeals days.
Jerry?
No, it's great.
Anna?
No, I just wanted to clarify. So Sherry, hi. So
Hi.
the homeowners on lot 3B would enter from Spectacle Pond Road on that 35 feet of frontage that you were talking about. Is that correct?
Well, Anna, I don't know if they would have to. They're going to request access off Barron Way because it's developed to that point, and it would certainly be more efficient to come off Barron Way. There are other homes that have been allowed to be built on Barron Way, so I think it's an adequate frontage, and I would ask the building inspector to consider letting the access be off Barron Way. But their frontage for legal purposes to satisfy the 35-foot neck is on Spectacle Pond.
Right. Okay. All right.
Okay. Does the board have any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the A&R lot for lot, what are we calling it, 3A?
The new lot is proposed lot 3B, but it results in a new lot 3A as well. We paid for two. So it's an A&R for lots 3A and 3B.
3A and 3B.
3A and 3B.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. You making a motion?
No, you are.
I'll make a motion to approve the A&R for lots 3A and 3B as proposed.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Anna?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Yes, on my part.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we have one last bit of board business, and that's the Chestnut Lane bond reduction request. Aaron, are you still here? Did you nod off?
I am still here.
Okay. Last we talked about Chestnut Lane, and I'll just bring the board up because I'm probably the only one that was on back then.
No, I was on.
Oh, you were on it too. We had a lot of issues out there. We still hold a fair amount of money. I know the new developer came in and has done a lot of stuff out there. It's just not where are we at with that, and why are we releasing any money at all?
Yep. So Green's been out there a couple times recently for inspections prior to paving. The developer would like to pave tomorrow, if I understand correctly. He's concerned with his cash flow and paying the paver within 30 days. So Green reviewed the request for the bond release or bond reduction and has agreed to or recommends that everything is complete except for 3 items. So if we hold 3 items plus the contingency, I'm still looking for the number.
While Marin's doing that, can you tell us where this is? I'm not familiar with it.
Okay, Chestnut Lane is off of Harvard Road, right at the Harvard Town line.
Oh, okay. So it's, okay. Yeah.
This is the subdivision that's taken the longest to complete, the smallest subdivision that's taken the longest to complete.
Yeah.
My story always is when the application first came in, the preliminary subdivision application first came in, the developer at the time, his check bounced.
Okay.
Has it gotten a lot better? So once the paving is complete and inspected, Green recommends that the board could release from the $46,600 bond, that you could release $42,100. That would leave $4,500 to remain in place.
And what could we do with 4,500?
The 3 items that are still remaining is needs a no outlet sign to be added to the street sign. As-built plans have been provided, but they've not been reviewed and completed. And there's one granite post that's a private granite post that's within the road right away that needs to be moved. So those 3 items plus a contingency on those 3 items, 20% contingency on those 3.
And you think that, and Green thinks that's enough?
Yes, for the lower lots. This doesn't address the $14,000 bond that's on the shared residential driveway.
That separate bond, right?
Yep.
I don't have an objection. I mean, I think he fixed all the underlying, right?
One of the concerns is the wetlands mitigation that needs to get planted, and there's a culvert under the shared driveway that needs to be repaired. I guess it's a plan. Yeah.
Well, why? So what? Green didn't look at that?
No, because technically that's part of the shared driveway.
Right, but yeah, I've heard about the culvert.
Oh my gosh, look at this, it's the car.
The culvert's under the second pond, though, not this one.
Correct.
And we only have how much? How much is left on the driveway bond? 14 grand.
Yeah, 14.7.
But but the bond we're releasing tonight, those 2 bonds are not. They're completely exclusive, right? We can't take money from one bond to satisfy another.
Is the issue with paving still? Doesn't it need still some paving on the main road coming in, or has that all been taken care of?
That's the question, is if the board would release the bond as soon as the Green has inspected the final paving on the main road on Chestnut Lane itself.
Yeah, because Mark, I thought the big concern was that they had left the base exposed.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
If we were going to have to fix that, it was the town. It was going to be expensive. I thought that's all fixed now, and I think all they're going to do is finish coat. And there's a culvert problem with the shared driveway, which is under a different bond, so not even part of this release.
Yeah, there have been quite a number of repairs that have been done.
I guess the question is, if Green only went out there to look at that piece, right? But correct me if I'm wrong, Martin, there's no recourse from one bond to the other. If we're whole on the bond for the 42,000 and we're under on the bond with the shared driveway, you can't use money from one to satisfy the other. Is that true?
I'm still hesitant to release anything on that main roadway until we're 100%.
Well, he was saying that we would be releasing on paving. Nobody
So from my perspective, we don't even have somebody here representing Chestnut, so I'm not comfortable with any of this, regardless of what his financial situation might be. I mean, he can't even be here to answer questions. I mean, come on.
I mean, I know it was an arrangement that they did. This guy took over for the original developer, but it's still, I don't want to put the town at risk about not having that road. I mean, we've been talking about this for 8 years.
You're still not releasing until the final paving's been inspected.
Well, then why do we entertain a bond reduction until everything's done? Then come in and say, okay, it's all done, not subject to it being done. Got to be done. And Green's got to come back and tell us it's done, and then let's release the money.
All right, you care about it more than I do. I'll go with that.
I don't want to release any money because you know what? We've been burnt a couple of times by people telling us they're going to do all of this, release the money, then we don't have enough. It happened.
No, you're right. You're right. I don't dispute that at all. You're absolutely right.
So, I mean, if they get it done, we can release it next month. I mean, what are we talking about? We've been dealing with this for 8 years.
I agree. Let's move on.
Well, that's it. That's all we got.
So no, we're saying no. Right?
Well, Jeff, what do you think?
I'm going to defer to you guys. I'm going to defer to you. You've been through down this road. That whole development has been a problem. So,
Maren, when do they think it's going to be done?
They thought they had scheduled paving for tomorrow.
Okay, oh, but they need the money to pave it.
Yes.
They're-
He needs
they're
money within 30 days.
Within 30
So
days.
if that's the case, he can reschedule it for 2 weeks, get Green to look at it. We can approve it at our next meeting.
Exactly. Do it that way. I just would feel more comfortable doing it that way before we give, we have to protect the town more than to worry about the developer, though. You know?
Right, and so I'll share that schedule with him or potential schedule with him and ask about repairs to the culvert.
Yeah, okay. Okay. And we can release it on the 10th
Yeah.
at 8:55. Oh, then thereabouts. All right, so yeah, and if he wants to make it a tri-party agreement that will release the money to the paving, I don't even care about doing that as long as it's done and it's approved by Green. Okay?
All right. It's 9:17. Let's move on.
Yep.
We're done.
I appreciate him being here. So, all right. Thank you.
Anybody else? We have anything else? We good, Maren?
We're good, thank you.
We're good till then? All right, everybody stay safe.
Okay.
Enjoy the Cape.
Yeah. You just missed a big, huge car carrier, 10 stories tall, just went by. That was what the big,
Is that what the commotion was? That's cool.
that's what the commotion was. It was pretty cool.
I'll never get on one of those things ever again.
Car carrier?
I took one back from the Gulf War. 25 days at sea. I will never do that again.
It's like a big box floating around with a bunch of cars in it.
Big steel box with a quarter-inch of steel between you and the bottom of the Marianas Trench. No way would I ever do that again.
It can't be comfortable. There is no way.
It's all iron. There's nothing comfortable anywhere on that ship. It's just walking on steel for 20 minutes.
Yep. It's amazing. It's
Well,
quiet.
thank you for having done it, Jerry.
Oh, yeah. What a pleasure.
All right, Maren. Maren, I will sign the paperwork tomorrow morning. Tell Lisa that I'll get it. I'll do the, not Zoom, what's it called? DocuSign. I'll take care of it.
DocuSign, yep. And I'll coordinate with each of you to get signatures on the A&R.
Okay.
Thanks, Maren.
All
Thank
right,
you.
thank you, Maren. Stay safe.
Do we have to take a vote to adjourn?
Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff.
Oh, God. Hoyle's Law now. Is that what, I thought I did good. Now you're going to.
You did great. You did great.
Throw rocks at me now? Maybe in another month or two, I'll have nice.
I move to adjourn.
I'll
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Bye.
Aye.
All right. Thanks, Maren. Thanks.
Thank you, Maren. Stay safe.